Alrighty, so today's video, we're talking about this. This is the brand new Laowa 12mm f2.8 Zero-D Lite full frame. It's a bit of a mouthful, but this has been an absolutely amazing lens, and it's my new favorite lens when it comes to real estate videography. And I'm going to talk about my experience with it over the past 30 days, along with sharing some of the sample footage that I've been able to capture with this lens. Let's get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo. And if you're new on this channel, we do everything from drones to real estate to camera gear and a bunch of other random types of videos. But today we're talking about this. This is the brand new lens from Laowa. And I have to say, this is probably the most monumental upgrade when it comes to the 12mm lens in recent years. So last year, Laowa released a very similar lens. It was the 10mm Zero-D. And that honestly took the real estate industry by storm. But when it came to Instagram Reels, the 10mm lens was an absolute slam dunk. Now, I, on the other hand, always thought that 10mm was a bit too wide, even though I've been using that lens. So I was really hoping for a sweet spot, like a 12mm lens. Now, we've always had 12mm lenses available, but they were always compromised by being too big or too heavy. So enter in this is the 12mm Zero-D f2.8. And right off the jump, this lens is incredibly well made. It's constructed similarly to that of the 10mm. Size-wise, it's the same. So here's the 10mm side by side to this, the 12mm, and you can see there's really no difference in size. They look pretty much almost identical. However, this is the manual version, and this right here is autofocus. This is the first time I've ever had a 12mm lens like this, or a Laowa lens that had autofocus inside. So some noticeable differences on this. You'll notice there is no aperture ring. Everything is controlled internally, and you can control your aperture with your camera. There is a manual button to toggle it to manual or to toggle it to autofocus. But again, the aperture will be controlled from within your camera, which is pretty nice. There is a lens hood, which comes off nice and easy. And you can put up to 72mm ND filters on here, which is nice because in previous versions of the 12mm lens from Laowa, you could not put an ND filter, which will make people very, very happy. I did go ahead and purchase a 72mm. It's 72mm to a 82mm step-up ring. So I'm going to be running an 82mm Nisi ND filter on here, which I've had great success with minimal vignetting. So I'm pretty excited about this. Let me show you the 12mm lens I was using before this. So this was the 12mm lens that I was using before Laowa sent me this. And you can see the size difference. It's a massive size difference. But beyond the size difference, we are saving a huge amount of weight. This lens right here weighs close to 700 grams. Now, this is the Cine version, and the reason why I bought this was because I could put a ND filter on here, but no longer is that the case now that I can put an ND filter on this 12mm. This one comes in at 377 grams, which is a substantial weight savings. Now, with that weight savings, you would think there would be a cut in the image quality, but there isn't. The image quality coming out of this lens is absolutely superb. I'm going to go ahead and play some sample footage that I've shot, a mix between horizontal and vertical content, so you can see just how good this lens actually is. Alrighty, so what did you guys think of that footage? Personally, I think a lot of the footage came out fantastic. One of the big things that I noticed about this lens was that there was no distortion whatsoever like I got with the 10mm or other wide angle lenses. Another thing, this is a big thing, is that there is very minimal vignetting. A lot of times I have to do reverse vignetting to go ahead and correct some of those dark corners or dark edges with a wide angle lens. I didn't have to really do that quite as often with this lens. Also, we're getting really nice sun flares. I'm getting those 10-point sun stars, which is also really hard to do with an autofocus lens like this. I know the 10mm AF from Laowa didn't really have similar lens flares. This does a really good job. Also, just the general flaring from this lens is a lot more appealing and less distracting than the 10mm. The 10mm has really bad lens flares, and if you're filming a subject, it can be overly distracting. So I'm happy to report that the lens flares on this are cut to a minimum. Also, the autofocus in my time using this has been pretty spot on. There was just an occasional couple of hiccups in dicey situations where I was changing exposures or using auto exposure and I was at a very narrow aperture. Like I'm talking apertures of f/18 to f/22, which sometimes, yeah, I would have to do because I didn't have an ND filter for that. And the focus would hunt just a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy, but easily corrected. If I just turned it off and turned it back on, it would fix itself. Laowa did tell me that is something that they will update for the final release versions, is the autofocus is getting even more improvements, which is pretty solid. Overall, I have to say that this lens really impressed me. The size of it, the width, like I said, for me, 12mm is the perfect width when it comes to real estate videography for both reels and for horizontal content. If you had to choose one lens to rule them all, and I had a choice between either the 10mm or the 12mm, I'm gonna go 12 every single time. It's just a better fit without being too wide or being overly distorted when it comes to horizontal video, which, yeah, horizontal video is still very prevalent. And it's also really nice to have that autofocus built in. You also get some very close focusing distances of like 14 centimeters, which is pretty incredible. And again, that edge to edge sharpness is pretty nice. Now, I did not do very many photos. I don't think I did any photos with this lens, mostly because 12mm for real estate photography is just too wide unless I'm filming like a townhouse and I need to be back up against a wall. Then I would break out maybe the 12mm to capture a shot. But overall, I really didn't have to do that. I use this predominantly just for video and the videos you've seen here. If you're not already following me at Apex Imaging Media on Instagram, be sure to go ahead and do so, because that's where you're going to see a lot of the work that we have done and been sharing with this lens. And if you have questions about this, go ahead and drop them down in the comments. And if you want to know how I film my videos like I do, go ahead and drop a comment down below. We're hosting a mastermind class out in LA on July 18th and 19th. There will be a link in the description below if you want to sign up for that class. If you can't make it to the class or the event, we are going to be hosting replays that will be available after the fact. All right, that's going to do it for this video. As always, stay original, and I'll see you next time.